Hello and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for August of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening this month for you. Well, Scorpio, Juno starts the month in the sign of Cancer right here in your 9th house. Now, Juno is all about relationship, partnership, committed partnerships of all kinds, whether that means marital, like in your personal life, or business partnerships that you might have. And so wherever Juno goes, we want to look to our partnerships, and we maybe want to bring our partner along. And we also want to be thinking about our social life. Now, the 9th house is a house of growth and expansion and travel. It's very exploratory, it's very big-hearted, and this is ruled by the very gregarious sign of Sagittarius. So when Jupiter is traveling through your 9th house, as she starts out the month being, is a really good time to have adventures and explore and travel with your partner and have some fun and get a sense of expansion, and maybe remind yourselves of the meaning behind why you partnered together in the first place. So Juno, though, is going to pretty quickly, around mid-month, she's going to move on into the next house, which is the 10th house right here. And that house is pretty full up with Leo at this point of the month. And this is the house of career. It's a much more serious domain than the one that Juno just came from, the 9th house. And so Juno in this house can bring her networking skills and her partner abilities and all of her social savvy to the domain of career. So if your work is of the kind that puts you in charge of groups of people, or puts you into one-on-one relationship with clients or people who consult you in some kind of way, this is a really great transit for you because of the way that socially savvy Juno passing through your 10th house can just make you so much more aware of the social dynamics in your workplace and how you can really be connected with people in the ways that will advantage your position there. Next thing I want to talk about is Uranus, which is traveling along through the sign of Taurus over a really long time period. Uranus takes about 7 years to move through a given sign, and as you can see, he's about 2/3 of the way through that passage right now. And Uranus is traveling through your 7th house. Now, because Uranus spends so long in a given sign or house, you may be wondering why I'm mentioning this today. Well, it's because Uranus is going to go retrograde at the end of the month, and I feel like you should really know that this could have an impact on your relationship life. Now, wherever Uranus goes, we find ourselves wanting to experiment, wanting to innovate, wanting to do something new and different, maybe break old patterns and possibly establish some new ones. The 7th house is the domain of relationship, and not to say that you're heading for divorce or anything like it, but I do think that if you are already in a committed relationship, as Uranus is passing along through this house, you might feel like you would want to like change the rules or the terms of the relationship in some way. You may want more freedom. You might be feeling a little bit agitated. And if you are already dissatisfied with your relationship, this could really make you want to break out. So you should watch out for that. And if you're single when Uranus is passing along through your 7th house, you can find that you're suddenly dating off type. You're suddenly interested in people who are not your usual fare, people who might open your mind up or be especially stimulating, or people who you might find to be quite electric. So that can happen while Uranus is passing through the 7th house. And when Uranus goes retrograde, as it is going to do at the end of the month, Uranus starts a multi-month journey traveling backwards and really just can go very deep in inquiring into what things need to change around here, and could potentially even shift your whole paradigm of what relationship is in the first place. And Uranus is going to continue retrograde for the rest of the year, turning direct next year in 2024. Now, Ceres is traveling along through Libra right here in your 12th house. Ceres is a goddess of all things embodied. She is all about the ways that we connect with the physical world, and she wants us to take good care of our bodies, be a good steward of our physical health, eat in ways that are intelligent and healthy, and also be aware of our value and our worth, and translate that into a strong earning power. So she's about wealth building too. But I have to say that Ceres in your 12th house has some challenges, because the 12th house is not known as the most embodied part of the chart. In fact, rather the opposite. So things that find themselves in the 12th house may be subject to some falling apart, some disintegration. And while Ceres is in your 12th house, you might find that some habits that you've built around your health practices or your physical self-care might kind of be disintegrating, and you may be kind of losing the plot around that stuff while Ceres is here. And when Ceres does move into your first house, which is going to happen in the middle of next month, September, that may be the point at which it all comes home to you and you realize, uh-oh, I've got to pull this together and put more attention and some clear action into my own physical self-maintenance. And if you can catch a clue before it really becomes very pointed and obvious that you need to attend to your health, well, then starting now is certainly a good idea. Hey, Julia, what's up with Venus, Mercury, and Mars for all the Scorpios out there?
Some interesting news coming your way, Scorpio, because Venus, the planet that rules your relationship, starts retro in your 10th house. So this cycle only happens about once every 2 years, and it's a time of relationship review for us all. If you're currently in a relationship, you could be reviewing it through 10th house matters. This is a career house. It rules your reputation. It rules who you are on a public level. So you might be reviewing your relationship in terms of how it helps bolster your reputation, maybe how it helps bolster your professional life. Is your partner supporting your career? Are you supporting theirs? Are you happy with the way things are? Do you need to introduce your partner more to your workmates so that more people can get a sense of who they are in relation to you? Now, if you're single, you could be thinking about your next relationship in these terms. Maybe the next time around you want to get married. You want something more official than the last relationship, or maybe you want a partner who helps you with your career. Now, on August 13th, Venus conjoins the Sun while retrograde, and we call that Relationship Clarity Day. So you could get some really great insights into all of these matters mid-month, because this is a time of clarity, of revelations, of aha moments into all this relationship stuff that you are going to be pretty preoccupied with. Now, Mercury, the planet that rules your mind, is also going to go retrograde later in the month, but he starts direct, although he's slowing down, in your 11th house. Now, this is a social planet in a very social part of the house, part of your house system. Mercury likes to communicate. It likes to connect. It likes to network. And that's what the 11th house is all about. It rules your friends. It rules any groups you're a part of. So you could be just kind of having a social month, maybe getting more calls, your phone text or DMs from people in your life. Maybe you're doing some public speaking around a group at this time too. And then by August 23rd, Mercury is going to go retrograde. So Mercury retrogrades are notorious for being times of you, as well as times of miscommunication. And where this could hit you personally, Scorpio, is among your friendship circles. Your friend might say one thing and you walk away from the conversation with a totally different meaning in your head. There could be misunderstandings in the groups that you're a part of too. And since the 11th house also rules our long-term goals, it's the house of hopes, wishes, and dreams, you could be really reviewing your strategies, your planning in order to achieve those goals of you. Are you going about things the right way? Do you have different goals now? This can all just be sort of the area of life that really gets emphasized for you this month, Scorpio. Now, finally, I got to talk about Mars. Mars rules activity, drive, passion, and also anger. And he starts the month in your 11th house. So a lot of emphasis on the 11th house for you this month. Again, house of friends, groups, and hopes, wishes, and dreams. So Mars in the 11th means you could feel very energized by the groups in your life, really driven to working with a team, and you can get a lot of stuff done in a team. However, Mars is a bit feisty. Egos could also be flaring up within the team or even among your friends. Mars is a competitive planet, so maybe people are getting competitive with you. Maybe you're getting competitive back with them. Maybe you're also feeling really impulsive, really driven to kind of get at one of your long-term goals, kind of really feeling impatient, like it's taking too long and you want that thing already. So with Mars, do a lot of hard work, but also remember to slow down your roles a little bit too, because you might be a little bit impatient in the pursuit of hopes, wishes, and dreams this month. And then by August 27th, Mars enters your 12th house. This is a very spiritual, very ethereal place, a place of fantasy, a place of dreams. Mars kind of has a weird time in this house because Mars is about as direct as they come. When Mars is in the 12th, you might be more driven by ethereal pursuits. This could be a fabulous time to do any type of fantasy role playing. If you like LARPing, Mars in the 12th house could be really, really cool for that. It could be a fabulous time for doing active types of spiritual pursuits like yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, which is actually really active. Sitting still for, half an hour. Oh my God, that actually really uses your body, even though it doesn't seem like the same thing as jogging. But meditation is really active too. And if you're not into all that woo-woo stuff, Mars in the 12th house can feel very driven to be of service to others, to do things, to help out. This could be a fabulous time to do sort of like an AIDS walk, to get out there and use your body in a way that helps get some money for a cause, which would be fabulous. But Mars in the 12th house, the challenges here are being a bit indirect with your actions, where maybe that gets on other people's nerves, or you come off being more deceptive than you intend to be, and also being a bit passive aggressive too when you get all pissy about something. So those are the things to watch out for, and definitely go for the higher stuff with this transit.
Yeah, for sure.
Hi, Jamie here. Horoscopes and moon videos are fun, but they're also really general. Did you know we run live workshops monthly and that you can get questions answered about your own chart there? This month's topic is how to get passion and commitment in one blissful package. In this workshop, you'll discover your two different types, for love and for marriage, and how to resolve them in a single, passionate, and committed relationship. If you haven't found lifelong love yet, you might want to consider attending this. This workshop is expressly for our Tier 2 Patreon subscribers. It's easy to sign up at the Patreon link in the description below. I'd love to see you there. Now let's get back to the video.
Well, I want to tell you about the not 2, but 3 moons going on this month, starting right away at the beginning of the month on the 1st with a full moon in Aquarius. So this moon is a moon in Aquarius, which lands right here in your 4th house. It's a full moon, which means that emotions may be running high, maybe particularly tidal, if you will. And the moon is in Aquarius, which is a cool, collected air sign, and also very much about groups, friends, tribe, and community. And so the moon is pulling for all of those things, while the sun in Leo pulling in the other direction is is really pulling for like a centralization of attention. So we're calling this one Big Egos Disrupt Group Nourishment. And there is a really strong nourishment theme here because Ceres trines that moon. And so these are the two archetypal mothers, the Earth Mother and the Nurturing Mother. And they're very harmoniously aligned and pitted against that, you know, big personality Sun in Leo. And then just to throw in another factor like that, we have Jupiter squaring that moon and acting as a big personality. So you may see this in group dynamics, and it might even occur at home or at work, or in some way kind of spanning those two arenas. The moon itself is in your fourth house of home and family. So there might be a very emotional person in your home, which might be you, or might be somebody else that you live with at home. And then the sun in Leo up here in the 10th house does suggest that big personality figure might be in the workplace, might be somebody at your work who is just wanting a lot of attention. So watch out for dynamics like these and try not to be caught in the crossfire. Second moon of this month is coming up on the 16th, and it's a new moon in Leo, which means that it lands here in your 10th house. We're calling this one Mending Rifts, Not Making Them. And that's because it includes a square to Uranus. And so there's a lot of that disruptive feel. And the stuff that I was talking about earlier in this horoscope, when I mentioned that you might be feeling a little bit itchy in the relationship department, or rebellious, or ready for a change, or even agitated, that energy can really pop up during a moon like this by squaring the moon the way it does. And actually it does so super precisely. So that's a very strong influence, but fortunately this moon contains a lot more harmony than stress. And that's because the sun and the moon together form lovely trines to Chiron and the North Node, and a sextile to Vesta. So there's really more harmony than stress here. But I do want to let you know that this new moon might be about planting seeds in your career. And of course, in your career, you want to be known for being a radiant light. And you may even find yourself doing some leadership in your career because your 10th house is full of Leo. And this particular moon could be a great time for planting seeds towards future leadership. May have mentioned this moon is called Mending Rifts, Not Making Them. And so that's going to be a pretty important factor as to how to keep that agitated Uranus from, you know, messing up all of the wonderful harmony that's here that could be supporting you in planting the seeds of future leadership. And then the last moon that I want to tell you about is the new moon in Pisces, coming up right at the end of the month on August 30th. It's a full moon in Pisces, I mean to say, and it lands right here in your 5th house. And I want to say that Pisces in the 5th house is just a great combination because Pisces brings so much imagination, and the 5th house is such an arena of creativity and fun. And so, I mean, I think Julia mentioned LARPs a minute ago. This is definitely a good occasion for, you know, fantasy, role play, those sorts of things. But we're calling this moon pressure to establish boundaries because it actually has a lot of earthy influence in it to balance out that loosey-goosey and otherworldly Pisces moon. So the moon in Pisces is not really known for being very good at boundaries. And in fact, this is the kind of moon that's so intuitive that it has a way of just being like an emotional weather barometer all the time. And so under a moon like this, it would be very easy to be overly sensitive to the feelings of other people and to let yourself get drained by their needs. But fortunately, Saturn is casting a spell of protection, a cloak of protection around that moon, and helping that moon to have better boundaries than it ordinarily would. We're calling this moon pressure to establish boundaries. And this moon is very complex, and it contains an interesting configuration called a yod, or finger of God. And if you've ever heard of that before and you've been curious about what that is and what that can look like and how it feels, then you should probably go to our website, pandoraastrology.com, and go to the monthly forecast page and watch the video about this moon, just so that you can see our delineation of, what this yod is all about, because it's pretty complex and fascinating. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the seasonal change, which is happening on the 23rd. But it's a contrast from how things are in the beginning of the month, where there's this big grouping here in the 10th house, and there is so much emphasis on career and authority, being the grown-up, being disciplined, being aware of your reputation. So lots of emphasis on that here in the beginning of the month. And then as planets move on, and then the sun joins them in the next house, the 11th house, there's a shift to a very different mood. And the preoccupation at this point is more around community, groups, friends, and networking. And that can mean networking in your social life, putting yourself in group situations, hanging out with people of like mind, participating in community, or just being with friends. But also, I like to think of the 11th house as the house of social media marketing. And if you do run a business that is yours, or you're near the top of a business, and it's a business that uses social media marketing, then as the sun leaves the 10th house and the attention shifts over to the 11th house, this initiates a really good 30-day period, because the sun will be here in the 11th house for about 30 days. It's a really great 30-day period for putting your attention on your peeps, whether that's like your followers on social media or your newsletter list people, whoever are the people that are keeping one part of their eye on what you do, and who are helping you to build your reputation. These are really important people, and this is a great month for putting your highest quality attention on them, maybe rejiggering some social media campaigns that you have going, and letting all those followers know how much you appreciate them for doing so.
Well, that's all for today. If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
You can find out so much more about how this month's transits affect you in very personal timing in our monthly Patreon workshops. Find the link in the description below to get started. Enjoy your summer, and until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.